Hey everybody, I'm Trish Moratto, our Senior Communications Manager here at SMA America, and today we are talking about grid stability services. And there is no one better to have this conversation with than our own Frank Berring. He's our Head of New Business Development for Large Scale at SMA America. Hi, Frank.
Well, thank you, Trish. Hi, and thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of buzz about grid stability services lately. And I'd like to start with the basics, give us a primer. What is it? Why is it so important? And why is it everywhere right now?
Yes, so I'll try to keep it brief. Stability services just refers to the various behaviors of a generator in response to either a disturbance on the grid or just some deviation away from its nominal values. These might be inertia as a response to a change in frequency, or a reactive power response to a voltage instability, or even a dampening behavior to an oscillation in the grid. Historically, stability services have been provided by synchronous generators, but as we transition to more inverter-based generation resources, the IBRs need to backfill that reduction in stability services resulting from retirement of fossil fuel plants.
Thank you for that. So, what I'm hearing is when we're talking about renewable based generation, we're not just talking about generating power, but we're talking about keeping the grid stable.
Yes, exactly right. We're at a tipping point in this energy transition, and IBRs have become a significant enough portion of the generation mix that they need to start behaving just like a synchronous generator behaves. If they don't, then you could say the energy transition effectively ends here, but the good news is we have the ability to provide stability services to the network already today.
It is good news. And I'm going to put myself in the headspace of the customer. If I'm your customer, why does this matter to me?
Yes, it's a great question. Of course, I guess I'd say that all stakeholders are affected by this in one way or another. And if the grid can't operate stably, or if the energy transition can't continue, then they care about that. System operators, it's one of their core responsibilities is to provide for power system stability, and developers is maybe our most significant stakeholder in a project. They can't connect their projects to the grid without permission from those system operators.
And a project without an interconnection agreement is no project at all, as we know. So if I'm a developer, let's talk a little deeper about why this is important to me specifically.
Yeah, I think there's three things. Developers care about a lot of different things, but three things come to mind for me. One is the generation dispatchable? And this isn't really about stability services, but suffice it to say that renewables, when combined with sufficient amounts of battery storage, are dispatchable. And then stability services, they can unlock hosting capacity on the network, which enables developers to connect their projects and maintain a healthy pipeline of projects and continue their business. And then the third would be compliance. Some system operators are implementing requirements into their interconnection agreements, and developers need to be aware of those, of course, and work with the right technology partners to be compliant.
And I know at SMA we work with some particularly savvy developers. What is it about stability services that really speaks to them?
What's important to realize is that as the grid evolves over time, the need for these stability services is evolving right along with it. And as the need for the stability services evolves, market mechanisms need to emerge to drive more adoption of these services. And some developers have been hesitant to design projects with these capabilities because there isn't a clear compensation model for it. In other words, it costs more money to integrate these capabilities, although it's marginal, but they don't necessarily get paid for it. So there's some reluctance.
That's a difficult spot for them to be in. How can SMA help alleviate some of that pain?
Yeah, it is. Our teams, we work pretty actively to share our experiences and our knowledge with industry stakeholders and consortiums. And just to raise awareness around these topics. Grid events that would come about from a lack of stability services. They come with a great deal of regulatory scrutiny and customer dissatisfaction and really damage to the entire industry's reputation. And we feel strongly that regulators should be creating market mechanisms right now to incentivize developers to build and design projects that improve network reliability while simultaneously increasing capacity.
I think that's a good strategy. It seems like instead of just waiting reactively for regulations to be set, we are proactively engaging with the grid operators to help them define the future.
Yeah, that's the idea. We want to make sure that the stakeholders in the U.S. market are not having to learn the same lessons over that others have already. For example, there's a project in the UK called Pathfinder, and we think that's a great blueprint for how market mechanisms can be implemented that both build out new generation, but also create an incentive so that developers build plants that provide the exact stability services that are needed for that moment in time and in the right locations on their network so that they maintain a reliable network.
Well, Frank, this has been a really insightful top layer. I know we could dig into it forever, but this has been a really insightful, first touch at this conversation. If there was one takeaway that we want customers and stakeholders to know, what would it be?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway is that the energy transition's not just about building generation capacity based on renewables, rather that we do it in a responsible way, deploying technology that contributes actively to the stable operation of the power system.
That's a great way to put it. Frank, thank you so much for your time today and walking us through this.
Yeah, thank you, Trish. Thanks for having me.